Hello, 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 everyone. Thank you once again for joining me. You may have noticed on my channel, I rebranded just a little bit. Okay, the title of our show is now We Need to Talk About This. Okay, there's so many topics in our society and our lives that is so necessary to talk about. Some are uncomfortable, some are just really great to talk about. But what my show aims to do is to look at God's perspective on several topics, compare it with man's perspective, and say where is the best path to take. And I believe the path of God's original intent is always the best path. Now, thank you so much, everyone, for joining me on last week's topic and this whole discussion on gender spectrum. It's an important discussion, all right. This topic is becoming huge, right? This discussion is being had on different fronts, and it's a big topic. It is a strange topic, although, why we are going in this direction. And you may have noticed those guests on Dr. Phil's show, Addison, Ethan, those are the transgender, people with the special pronouns, and then Matt Walsh, right? Since that time, these people have come back and complained that they had nightmares, they couldn't sleep, they had depression because what they expected was to come on a show and, in the words of Addison, she posted something on her Instagram, educate us, right? So they wanted to come on unopposed, okay? They wanted to come on and just share what they had to share with us without anybody critiquing or even the opposite side of the issue. And today I'm going to show you two videos, right? We're going to continue the show on Dr. Phil's show that brought in a couple of parents that really had concerns about their children being taught this in school, okay? So that first clip or video is going to talk some more about it, and then we'll discuss. And then the second one is the issue of canceling people that don't see eye to eye with you. It's becoming a big issue that the moment you sort of criticize or come against or oppose what they are spreading or what they're putting out there, you have to be canceled. You have to be fired. And they are basically campaigning no tolerance whatsoever, no tolerance and patience, and having to, you say you're educating us. Give us time to absorb this information. Now, you also have to have the tolerance that if eventually or ultimately you educate me and I still don't see eye to eye with you, you have to be able to accept. But it's very intolerant of anyone to put information out, impose, and say, this is what it is, and then I don't buy into it, and then I gotta be fired. Okay, so let's go right into the video. Let's watch the clip that I'm referring to, and then we'll talk about it, all right?
Situation makes me feel very upset.
People may think that if you don't want to use the preferred pronouns, that you're against gay people. This is 100% untrue. I am a huge advocate for gay people, trans people, and the like.
Stacy and I both have children in the same school district.
I learned that the teachers in my children's school were asking for the kids' preferred pronouns in the classroom. When I heard about this, it was extremely upsetting.
Last year, my son was given a homework assignment. I gave an example of a child not identifying with the gender that they're born with. This is an example of homework that was given to my 8-year-old son. If a student is unsure of their place in the gender spectrum or is experimenting with different forms of gender presentation, school uniforms can present a real challenge.
Oh my gosh. What is gender spectrum?
That's a great question. My son was really confused. I feel like I'm ambushed because now I'm explaining to my son. He asked me, what does sexist mean? As a parent, I felt trapped. I felt I had to explain these concepts to my son. I felt like I was whittling away his innocence. This year, my 12-year-old daughter had a science teacher ask the class about their preferred gender pronouns.
I don't want a teacher talking to my child about gender pronouns. It is not appropriate. It's crossing a line. It's unacceptable. This is a parent-child issue, not a teacher-child issue. I wanted my kids to have nothing to do with it. I had to pull both of my kids out of this school district.
I've decided not to pull my children out of the school district, but I'm fighting for change. I've been attending school board meetings for about a year now. What's happening across the country is teachers could get fired if they use the wrong gender pronoun. That just seems wrong.
This is my mission in life. to protect my children, and however I need to do that, I will. What Matt and I and a group of us are doing is we're working to have the school board removed completely. A lot of people I know, a lot of parents I know are afraid to speak up, and I speak for them, and I'm not afraid.
Wow, this this is loaded and very disturbing to me as a parent, right? I do not want a school district to sort of impose something that is fairly new, things that are churning in our system to be imposed on our kids, okay? This whole gender spectrum, information, I even recently found out that there are 100 gender pronouns or gender identities, right? Which is wild to me, right? So as a parent, I am grappling with this information that is fairly new, that is being put out in the mainstream, and I have to try to understand what is going on. What is, this information that I'm hearing and trying to understand it. But not only that, but kids in schools are being taught these things. And I sympathize with these parents because it is concerning. It is disconcerting also to me because these are things that we need to be able to address with our kids gradually. When we as parents feel that they are ready for this information, we are restructuring gender. What we've known to be a man, what we've known to be a woman for years, biological makeup of a man and a woman, we are saying, no, 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 that was all wrong. But then somebody they can feel what they feel, and whatever they feel is what they are. So basically, gender should be left with that individual and his mindset and how he feels to accept, okay, I am in this place, or I am in that place, or I am this, I am they, them, gender pronouns, and all of that, which is so confusing. So this whole movement is confused, but then the confusion has to be placed on us, and we who are coming up and understanding or trying to grapple with this information now have to be forced to accept, or like the parents were saying, if a teacher addresses somebody with the wrong gender pronoun, they could be fired. But let's continue.
Arlo, how old is the baby now?
Oh, Sparrow's actually going to be 4 in February.
Has Sparrow decided
Oh, a gender?
Yes.
Oh, that's a great question. Sparrow is in a point of learning and exploration with a lot of things, including gender. Language with children at 4 is very, they're figuring it out. And so currently, Sparrow uses he for everyone. No, it doesn't matter what their pronouns are, and we mentioned it. They just call everyone he, they don't conjugate it correctly. They don't use him or his or anything. Just he for everything. So we joke that he is Sparrow's preferred pronoun because that's what they use for everyone. As far as for themselves, though, they're not coming consistently saying, "I would like, I want to be a boy or a girl," or "I feel like I'm non-binary." We don't have heavy, in-depth, like overt communications. It's not like every morning I wake them up and say, "All right, what's your gender today?" hoping they'll finally give me an answer. So it doesn't come up like that.
Okay. You decided this was important to leave unspecified, undetermined. Why?
Because of the fact that gender is so social and it is such a social construct. Now, we say we shouldn't interact with one another differently because of our genders. Like, everyone deserves the same respect and treatment. But it has been scientifically proven that children are interacted with very differently based on whether they are assumed to be a boy or a girl. Girl children are held more, boy children are given, mechanical toys more often, all of these kind of examples, anecdotes. And I felt it was important for Sparrow to get the chance to figure themselves out without all of that pressure, intervention, and programming.
Seems like we should just keep the dialogue going and hopefully find some middle ground.
I have a question.
This is actually interesting. For a child to be, to not specify what gender they are. And it takes me back to all these forms that we fill, even birth certificate, job forms. What gender are you, male and female? I guarantee you, this movement is going to get to a point where the male and female gender that is placed on forms when you're filling a job, hospital forms, all those different things is going to be changed, and we're going to have all these different genders that are going to be listed. Oh, please select your gender, non-binary. And today I was even looking into some of the hundred or so gender identities that are listed, and I'm like, what are these? Like, what is this? Like, I mean, seriously, this is all confusing, okay? For somebody who's even trying to genuinely try to research into these things, it's all so confusing. So should we be placing these things on our kids, right? Why will a parent say, oh, I'm just waiting for my 3-year-old, okay, to determine what gender they are, like the kid is? Wow. Okay. I mean, do you, right? Do your family, do whatever makes you happy. But you see, the problem is people don't want to do their life, their children, their families just alone, right? They don't want to handle their issues and different things that they're grappling with alone. But guess what? It's got to be a societal move. We all have to accept this, or else there's trouble. We all have to go in this certain way. And this is problematic. I think that this is going to bring a lot of issues, right? In the future, we're going to see a lot of issues with this thing. And so I just want us to continue and listen to another last batch of this video, and then we'll go into another one that we want to talk about.
Arlo, you mentioned that you don't have your child discussing pronouns or figuring out their pronouns yet. And yet in school, our kids are being asked what their pronoun is. I'm confused about how that works. And then there's always this fluidity right around what pronoun you are each day. So it's constantly changing. How confusing.
I think
for
what it
kids.
is, I think what it is that I sympathize with the hurt and distress that I sense from you all. I also wouldn't. I sympathize with my child to learn things from their teachers at school that were topics I was uncomfortable with, or I didn't know how I'd want to talk about them. Your children are going to need to know how to navigate a world in which non-binary and transgender people exist.
This is a great conversation to have at home, out of the school. This should not be part of the curriculum.
We're out of time.
I understand. We all have to be able to navigate life. Look, like I said in our last video, that we have come a long way where we've had to learn and unlearn things, relearn things, right? So that society could work, right? We had to adjust some of our prejudices, some of our knowledge that we had brought with us, you know, through childhood. We were raised a certain way. Even marriage, you know, you may have learned certain things where, oh, this is what something to do in marriage is, something to do that makes marriage successful. And then you come into marriage and you come to the reality that it's a whole different ball game from something you've learned from a book or from a novel or something, and then coming to the reality within that marriage, seeing how things play out and how you can really make it work, right? And so for you to say that, yes, our kids need to navigate and grapple with all of this, I agree completely. And these are things that are new to the system, to society. And even some of these transgender, non-binary people who are advocates for this whole thing, they are also trying to even understand the broad array of gender identities. This is a problem. This is something that I feel like is a slippery slope, because we can continue adding to this. We can continue adding, 100 is not enough. We have found a different kind of identity that doesn't fall within the 100, right? Somebody can come up and say, and somebody with a following and several cases of this can get up, get funding, and say, we have found another group or another identity outside of the 100 gender identities. And that's a problem. That's confusing. Isn't it enough to be accepting and teaching people that we want to accept you no matter who you are, no matter where you come from, no matter, the gender reassignment you have decided to embark on. But now I have to address you correctly by your right pronoun, by your preferred pronoun, or else I could lose my job, or else I could get in trouble. This is all a slippery slope. Now, the next video I want us to look at is a video with Piers Morgan and a gentleman, I think he's a gay gentleman who was an advocate for these different genders and gender pronouns. And you know, Piers is a controversial figure. Okay, I'm not going to deny that, but his viewpoints on this whole gender identity thing got him in trouble, in the sense that people online, especially the LGBTQ plus and the different gender, transgender groups, were petitioning for him to be fired. This is the exact thing I'm talking about. The fact that somebody doesn't agree with you or has a different viewpoint has to get you canceled. They would petition to get you canceled because your viewpoints were a little too harsh. Your viewpoints sounds intolerant, or sounds like you're not even caving in or accepting or embracing any aspect of their discussion, any aspect of their advocacy, right? And so listen to this video and let me know your thoughts on how this went down. I just got a short clip of it to let you see what Piers was saying.
I totally agree. I totally agree. And by the way, I've heard lots of. Yeah, but you're not compassionate, are you?
I am. It's this hard line.
I have rarely been subjected to more foul abuse on social media than I have in the last few days since this campaign started against me. There is an aspect of, I'm afraid, your lobby group, for one of the gender lobby group, which is highly abusive. It wants everybody that they don't agree with to be fired, cancelled, destroyed, and everything else. And I say, what is wrong with debate? You and I came on and we debated it on here, right?
Yeah.
I actually learned a bit from you, and perhaps you learned a bit from me, maybe you didn't. But your response to a good-natured debate on that is to now come back on and demand I get fired because we only want people sitting here that you agree with. And I say that most people, and I say this with respect to you, most people think the concept of 100 genders is utter nonsense. Yeah. And if it takes me to say on television, get away from this ridiculous control freakery stuff that no one's allowed to challenge it. If it's to me that says that, I'm going to say it. And you're not going to stop me, and you're not going to get me fired.
Piers really, really explained and expressed his emotion here and his thoughts and his viewpoint really spectacularly. It is insane and it is so crazy that this stuff should get you fired. The fact that you do not agree with somebody's point of view so the society is even getting so intolerant. Even our political discourse is getting so intolerant that if you don't see my viewpoint, you should be canceled. You should be gotten rid of. You should lose everything. It's so terrible. I have seen this exact thing in politics, that if you don't support this person, or even your political opponent is like the devil. And this is how society is becoming, so much that it is infusing itself in every facet of society. In the jobs that we do, in the stores, the companies, the different things. Companies have to support this very thing, or else, we are boycotting your product. We are canceling you. And this is terrible. This is intolerant. This is not sustainable as a society that we can survive like this. So guys, let me hear your thoughts on this, okay? Should we entertain this 100 gender identity spectrum, and really infuse it in our educational system, infuse it in our everyday living to the point where everybody has to be addressed by the appropriate pronouns, or else there's trouble, right? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. And as always, I appreciate your time. I appreciate you listening and watching this. And also like, subscribe, and let's keep this up. All right. Love you all. God bless you.